So I was going to ask you, what is there a difference between the fall semester and the spring semester in Canada? And if you were to advise someone to choose a particular semester to start off with, what would be your preference?
You know what? I
Why?
think okay. So of course, so
And
they are
even the summer semester too, I think.
yeah. So okay. So there's the fall semester which starts in September. There's the winter one which starts in February. There is the spring one which starts in May. Which yeah, just I think so. Yeah, those are the 3 semesters I know of. So I came in fall. So I'll tell you what. The two options I think are the best are the fall semester and the spring one, which is the one that starts in September and the one that starts in spring. And this is personal opinion, so you can, you know. So this personal opinion, I think the fall semester is because when you come in September, it's not too cold yet, so you kind of ease into the cold. So it's still kind of there's still a little dash of summer. So I mean, your body is cold, but then you kind of ease into how cold it is. The temperature drops. You're literally right there when it drops, so your body eases into it. But then I know a lot of people who come in the winter, they come straight into the deep of the cold. So, so, so a lot of people come and then they're disheveled. They're just like really cold, not organized. Well, some people are different. They are able to adjust. They are able to. So, but then one thing is that most schools actually do admissions for fall, which is September, and then for the winter semester. Only a few schools actually do
Right.
spring. Yeah, so a lot of the schools actually do for fall, and so my personal opinion, best bet is to come in the fall if you can get fall admission. So that means you have to start applying really early. That means in January or like December of the year before fall. So if you want the winter semester, which is what maybe some schools offer, or maybe you missed the fall one and you think winter is the best bet, that's also fine. You'll survive. You'll be fine. Yeah. So it depends on you. For spring is also really good because spring is just the beginning of summer. So you are really coming straight into enjoyment, I'll say, because summer is quotes enjoyment time. So yes, so it depends on what your school offers and how early you're able to make your admission as well.
So does the start date, like we mentioned, spring, fall, winter, affect does it have any effect on like, your performance or even maybe the kind of jobs you find or even some sort of scholarship, available? Which one is most favorable for somebody trying to find a job or somebody trying to get that funding or to even do better in their studies? Does it?
So I don't think it actually does affect, like, what's it called? It doesn't affect your performance. It doesn't affect your what's it called? Your funding. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. So if there's space in a particular professor's lab, there's space. You apply, you get it. It doesn't change if. I mean, there are some scholarships that only or some grants that only come in during winter or like during spring, but then that doesn't affect your general performance really. When you come, people, because when you're coming, people are leaving. So you are coming in September, people are graduating and leaving. That means there's opening, there's space for jobs. When you're coming in winter, people are graduating in winter as well. So it's not as if there's a particular time people graduate. People are doing their own. In fact, there are some labs that take people in rare cases sometime randomly in the middle of the year, especially for PhD students. If they have space in their lab, they'll take people anytime. So it really depends on you individually. Doesn't affect your funding, doesn't affect your overall performance, doesn't affect scholarships or anything like that. From my knowledge, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about internship. How do students get internship? Are you allowed to intern outside? Is there something you have to do to prepare yourself to land that internship? And what role does having an internship play in you finding a job in Canada? Or even if you don't have an internship, you'll be fine. You don't even need to or bother to find one.
I mean, personally for me, I didn't do an internship but I know a couple of friends who did do an internship, and how they got theirs was that their professor had, when these professors work with industry people, like people in the industry and companies. So what happens is that your professor, someone in the industry might say, oh, we do have this opening for an internship and stuff, and if you have a student who is willing, and then your professor is like, oh, okay, are you interested? Oh yeah, okay, sure. apply, but then use me as your reference or that kind of thing. So that's how one way I know people get internships, through their professors. Another way people get internships is through that school career board I was telling you about. So they post a couple of internships as well. You can then apply for those. Another way I know is that people can just apply, randomly. So that's if your program allows, because there are some programs that I don't think is necessary. There are some programs that are actually compulsory. Co-op, that's what they are called. It is compulsory when you're coming as part of your requirements to graduate, you must do an internship. So those ones, I think school helps with that. Some schools help based on your academic performance. That's how I know that one works. So based on your academic performance, I think the school kind of, or the department kind of has a partnership with different companies. And then they kind of suggest students that, oh, our students with so-and-so academic performances that are doing really great, they need someone to do their co-op or their internship. And then that's how they kind of link. So, but I can't talk too much about that because I didn't do an internship personally. But I don't think it's compulsory that you do an internship. Well, depending on the course you do or on the kind of job you're trying to get. But I don't think it's compulsory that you do an internship to land yourself your job after school.
Okay, so now let's talk about your program per se, your major. It was master's in what again?
It was computer science, but focused on access control.
All right, great. So now, what background does someone need to have to get into that program? Did your background help you do better when you were taking your master's program? How is the master's in computer science with a focus in access control, like in the University of Calgary? Did I get it right? And then, how were you able to survive your courses, and how many courses are you supposed to take a semester? What was it like for you? Did you have challenges? Did you struggle? How did you overcome such challenges as well?
So my background is information and communication technology. So that kind of, I would say that was very helpful. It was really helpful, actually. It was really helpful to have a background in IT, because in as much as we did a couple of things in our undergrad, but I would say the style of, what would I say, the style of teaching or the style of the way things were done in terms of coursework and stuff, it didn't entirely prepare me for, what's it called, for doing research or doing a master's even in the UK or even here in Canada. It helps because you can't come from a blank knowledge of nothing to come and do a master's or like a program in security, in computer security or in computer science as a master. You can't do that. So yes, my undergraduate degree helped a lot in like laying the foundation. And then, so because programming is very important, you need to know a couple of programming languages. You can't start from scratch. Basically, you have to have an IT background. That's one thing I know for sure. Some people are lucky enough that they're able to pick, maybe they did a different course and they were able to go into programming and development on their own. Some people are lucky that they're able to pick that as like a thing they learned on their own. Yes, so that can prepare you for this kind of master's. But for someone who wants to go into cybersecurity or computer security, you have to have like an IT background. So there were a couple of challenges because there were some projects. There were some projects that, first of all, it took me a bit of time to understand, which was where my problem was, for you to understand what you need to do before you start implementing. That was where my initial problem was. So then it takes me a deal of time to, first of all, read, kind of understand, okay, what do I even need to do basically with this project? And then before I move on to actually start implementing. So there was a lot of learning to do, which is interesting. It's tough, but it's not interesting. There's some days you ask yourself, why I could have just like stayed home. Why? Yeah, I could have stayed home. Why? But then the thing is that you pick yourself up and you keep going. That's the thing. A lot of reading, there's a lot of studying. I still tell my sister that the amount of studying you do during a master's program, your entire life, you have not read like that. You read papers because you try different. Your tabs, all your tabs will be like, you have so many tabs open on your. Please, there's a lot of work that goes into it. It was tough, but Oh yeah, another thing that was really helpful was tutorials. So here, even in the UK as well, we could join tutorial classes for undergraduate programs. So you just find out when the tutorial classes, take permission from your supervisor to say, oh, I'm joining this tutorial class because I have no idea what is going on here, but I see that they are offering this topic in that class, so I'm going to join that class. So that was really helpful. One thing is, don't take too many courses in a semester. Take like 3. 4 is even a lot, because for every course there are projects. I'm not kidding you, there are projects. There's project, there's documentation. So 3 is enough. 3 is a good number. 4, it's a stretch. You can stretch yourself to do it, but like anything beyond that, don't even try it. Don't even try it. That's suicide. Don't try it, because it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into all of these programs. So yeah, that's one thing I would advise. 3 to 4 is the best bet.
So it's funny because, yeah, when we talk about, when I remember in my first semester, when I got there, I spoke to the secretary of the department, and then she said I should reach out to my course advisor, which I did. I just shot him like this email. I'm like, sir, what courses do I take? And then he recommended 3 courses. And me, the Nigerian in me, I was like, no. I just replied immediately, sir, in Nigeria, I would take 8 courses. You have 8 A's. 8 A's like this. I'm like, sir, 3 courses. No, sir, please increase the volume. I told him to increase, but I want to take more courses, like, and then he's like, no, I should take 3 courses. That's his advice. And I ended up taking 3 courses. 2 weeks, let me just say 3 weeks, or maybe 1 month into the first semester. I just knelt down. I knelt down in my room and said, God of miracle, and my papa. I'm like, thank you for saving me, because, oh my God, I was even struggling in one course like this, like, so that's why I was asking you if there's a preference with the spring semester versus the fall semester. Because for me, when did I resume? I resumed for spring. Spring here starts like in January. So the fall semester starts August. So I resumed in spring. So if you resume in spring, there are courses that, you're supposed to have taken maybe in fall. So it's like, maybe let's say computer security 1 in fall. But for the spring semester, it's going to be like computer security 2. Do you understand? So it was the same thing and it was a cryptography course. So I'm like, I didn't take like the prerequisite or the background course for that one. It was, I'm an A student, so for me to say I struggled, I was struggling. So I understand what it means for someone to come and, because when he was telling me that, I was thinking, oh, sir, don't say that. Are you trying to insult my personality? I was trying to show myself. Nobody tell me, my body here.
I swear, because I myself I struggled, because my dad was like, what is going on? I'm struggling. It's not going well. And my dad was like, but the thing is that when results come out,
you do
like,
something,
it comes out great. But
my goodness,
you're struggling. You don't know. I'm struggling. You don't know how I'm getting this. You don't know what I'm putting into getting this A's you are saying there. I'm struggling. Because it's like, oh, I'm not. What are you talking about? Your results look great. It looks like you're doing okay. Daddy, I'm not doing okay. I'm not doing okay. I'm struggling.
My professor told me that said I'm scared for you for next semester. I went to meet professor. I'm like, Augusta, please. I'm struggling for the first time in my entire life. Like, never, I'm like, I want to meet him more, because I told some person, they were like, you need to if you're struggling or anything,
tell him.
You need to speak to the professor. That it's not like they will blame you, that if you're not doing so well in a class, that is the professor's job to actually, that's why you're paying. I'm like, you can't try that in Nigeria. I want to go and blame somebody. Are you okay? But I'm like, okay, let me try. And then I walked up to him. I'm like, sir, thank you for the class. This is about, to be honest, I'm struggling. It's just something. And then he's like, why are you from like Nigeria? Oh, international student. He said yes. And then I said yes. He was like, oh, I'm scared for you for next semester. Yeah, I am telling you I'm struggling.
You are telling me that it's going to get worse.
Like, you're making my life like I went home that night, I wept. You know when they say Jesus wept?
You wept.
I wept. I did not cry. I wept because I was now doubting myself. Am I good enough? I'm like, Jesus, is this what
Yes,
you know?
that
And some of the people in
happens.
that my class, they were already coding when they were 9 years old. The boy I was gisting with some person, he's like, he's been coding since he was 9. I'm like, 9 years, Kimmy. Do you know when I even started, So I'm like, oh my God. So, but for me, when people tell me that I can't, when anybody tells me that you can't do this, it motivates me. It's just like when you go to a place and you know you can do this, or you know your capability, and somebody's trying to so that was it for me. I'm like, no, I can't. I know that I'm better than this. I've done more than I know my capabilities. When I did this thing, I was top of the class, and then he was the one that shook my eye. Was like, "You're capable." I'm like, "Damn, coming from you, I beat everybody, even the ones." So I'm like, "Yeah, I still have it in me." It made me feel good because at that point, my distance was like 0.0. My confidence was like 0.
Yeah, that's
But
something.
I could do it, but it was just so hard. Like,
That's something that eventually happens. I think that's okay. Maybe when you ask about how I managed to like transition, that's something I actually like started struggling with. That's when I noticed that there was a word for it, imposter syndrome. They're like,
mm,
maybe I'm not supposed to be here, to be
yeah,
honest. I'm like, I know I'm great. I'm great. I'm that person I think I am. I'm really great. But now I'm like, I don't think I'm that person I think I am. Oh,
mm,
maybe I'm really not that person.
yeah,
Maybe I'm not. But eventually, your results come out. You're like, okay, I'm that person.
yeah.
Please, I'm that person. Please. Yeah,
It is funny. It is
yeah,
funny.
it is.
So, taking your courses, we're at the point where you said don't take too much courses,
Mhm.
and that's it for you. Is there like, okay, so you said 3, don't take more than 3. And so, did you participate in any research? Was your master's research based, or it was
Yes.
a program based? And what was your research on? How was that experience for you?
So it was research based, and it was um, so it was talking about basically access control. That's what it was really. That's what it was focused on. Phew. And it was mostly around IoT, Internet of Things, talking about access control, like security in relation to Internet of Things, focusing on Internet of Things relating to um, how would I put it, body nets, basically relating to body nets. So it was access control relating to Internet of Things, relating to specifically body nets. Whew, it was a tough one. It was one of the it was it was interesting. It was an interesting one because Internet of Things is something I also recently just started getting into fully, which like I hadn't heard about it until 2015. That's when I heard about it for the first time. And then doing research in that area, it was quite interesting. I had to learn there's a lot to read about because you have to read about Internet of Things on its own, read about access control on its own, and then think of what has not been done, what you need to do, what can you contribute, and then how to kind of connect these things. At first, it was so abstract. I was like, what am I? How is this even going to? What am I even going to do? But then a couple of courses I did with my supervisor actually kind of helped. So I did an access control class with my supervisor. Half of the time I was asleep. I'm not going to lie because it was so complicated. There were lots of weird maths a lot of proof theory. That's one thing. Proof theorems. There were lots of proof theorems actually. So yeah, that's one thing I had to learn how to do, proving theorems. Proving theorems. I had to learn about graph databases, something I had never heard about before. I had to learn about that, how to implement that. I had to learn about automata theory, like just a couple of weird. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie. But then, I mean, eventually, it all worked out. Actually, all worked out. So yeah, that's what I'll say about my research. Yeah.
That's good. Good to know that you scaled through regardless of the, challenges and everything. So that's interesting. I believe you people already know now, that you need to have a background to get into the computer world. But if not, then just have some sort of experience. Maybe you've been programming before, or you are a self-taught coder or programmer, or you've, maybe from experience, because some people might just dabble into a job and then it requires them to start learning codes and everything, but you shall need to have some sort of IT background to be able to get into the computer science space, especially when you're going for a graduate course like that, because you're not going to be spoon-fed or anything. So now you graduated, right? How was that like for you, and how how did that transition into finding a job or landing a job? How can international students land a job after graduation? And how, so there are going to be two questions here: landing a job and then getting to the PR phase in Canada. Because I know one thing that internationals are interested in, why people really want to go to, they are very welcoming. And then it's easy for you to just graduate and then get into become a PR or something like that. So how is that whole process like?